right, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great Thursday wherever you are here in the United States or across the world. We're excited about today. Today's going to be truly informative in terms of the industries that are out there. We're going to have IT here in a second with Microsoft. Then later on today, the Mears Group talk about commercial oil and gas. And then the afternoon, a panel will talk about transportation, the communications industry, as well as the financial service industry. So a great day about opportunities out there. So while we're hearing all the doom and gloom and the unemployment rate that popped out today, there are a lot of great companies and a lot of great industries that are aggressively hiring. And we're going to talk about one of those today with the IT industry. We're Hiring Our Heroes has been partnered with Microsoft for close to 6 years from now. And the work that they have done has been remarkable in terms of transforming service members and military spouses into IT professionals. So we're lucky today to have Joe Wallace, who's been sort of the godfather of that program for quite some time there at Microsoft, a former Marine himself, or once a Marine, always a Marine. A Marine himself is going to talk to us about not only the industry and how the industry is reacting to COVID, but as well as the opportunities that still exist inside the industry. It was probably one of the more hotter areas in the country prior to COVID, and it'll remain one of the hotter areas once we're put COVID in our rearview mirror. And he's also going to talk about, again, their amazing program called the Microsoft Software Systems Academy that they do to train and transform service members and spouses into IT professionals. And I can attest to this. I've seen it for 5 years and seen infantry guys, transportation guys, cooks, you name it, all go from having a military specialty in one area and then in a short amount of time through the amazing training that Joe's going to talk about, truly transform themselves into IT professionals. So as Joe goes through today, there's a Q&A function on the bottom of your webinar. We would ask that you use that Q&A function, post questions on there, and Joe will cover those as his briefing goes on. And at the very, very end, we'll also have a Q&A session there. Try to avoid using the chat because the chat's not being monitored by everybody. Put those questions on to the Q&A section. And again, when Joe's done today, get some lunch and then come back and join us again at 1 o'clock as we continue the series today, educating everyone about the opportunities in industries across this country. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the great, smart, and highly handsome Joe Wallace. Joe, take it away.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that. First of all, I wanted to thank Hiring Our Heroes for this opportunity. As Chuck said, Microsoft's been partners with them for a number of years now. And the team there really came together quickly when this pandemic hit us and pivoted to being able to provide information to service members and their families. Looks like across the globe. So thank you to the team at Hiring Our Heroes. And I said, we're proud to be partners with them in what we do. The presentation today that I'm going to present is about the IT industry as a whole. And as Chuck said, we'll speak a little bit about Microsoft's program, the Microsoft Software and Systems Academy, as well as our spouse program. And we also have a program for military children as well that I'll touch on. I'll talk a little bit about Microsoft's response and the tech industry's response to this COVID-19 crisis and what we've done as a company. And maybe if you have some questions, again, I'd be happy to answer questions. You can put out your questions during the presentation, and if I'll look at those and I can answer them right away just to stay relevant to the slide we're on or the part that we're talking about. So with that, let's kick off the slide deck, please. So I'm on the military affairs team at Microsoft. I've been with Microsoft about 10 years. As Chuck said, I'm a former Marine, retired from the Marine Corps Reserve after 28 years. And the slide, are we gonna move the slide deck? I'm sorry, there we go. Yeah, so I'm on the military affairs team. There's this slide, it's a little bit about our mission. As you can see, it's not Microsoft specific. Our mission is about supporting the military community in finding careers in the technology industry. And of course, Microsoft hires from our programs as well, but we have many partners across the country, a lot of companies that are very familiar with that hire from the programs that we've launched across bases and here in the US. Um, our vice president is Major General Chris Cortez, who you see there on the slide. And he talks a little bit about our mission and what we're looking to do. So as I said, it's not Microsoft specific. Our programs were really industry focused. So a slide, please. Keep going. It rolls. So who is an IT professional? So without going into every data point, I mean, there's a lot of numbers on this slide, and it'll continue to roll as you click on to give you those numbers. We're a little bit older, a little bit more white than some of the other groups, as you can see. I think an important piece here is in the middle where we talk about the home office. The tech industry as a whole probably has more remote employees, or they're pushing more individuals to work remotely. And as you know, today we're all working remotely as we're doing here today. You can see I'm sitting on a lake here with some woods in the background, but it's a nice photo that I pulled up to put behind me. I'm sitting in my home in Bellevue, Washington, speaking to you today. But many of us, there's a lot of lessons to be learned during this period on remote work and how we can access technology to continue to stay connected. And as Hiring Our Heroes is doing, we're using the tech platform here to deliver this program today. So any questions on those statistics? I mean, it's interesting how the tech industry has evolved, and in a number of ways, it leads other industries in what we're doing. The one also point I want to kind of hone in on here is you can have a career in technology in the tech industry without having a college degree. So many individuals will end up getting high-level certifications, have a great high-paying career, and never end up getting a college degree. Not to downplay the college degree, many of our individuals go out and get a college degree and have a great career as well. But that two-pronged approach, or those are two avenues to get to where you want to be in the industry. So and individuals choose those paths according to kind of their interests and how they want to go forward in the tech industry. So next slide, please. So the one thing about the industry is there's just endless opportunity for growth. So there's so many open positions. If you were to ever look at the careers page of any of the tech companies, and that slide will fill in as you roll through it, you will see thousands and thousands of open positions. I mean, our industry ends up bringing in talent from overseas as well to just fill the gap. Here in the United States, we're not educating enough computer science majors and software developers and server admins to really manage the growth of the industry. Many of the programs that are part of what Hiring Our Heroes is sponsoring with our corporate partners, a lot of these career skills programs are specifically have been created and launched to fill gaps in the job market and make sure that we can bring military service members into this job market and in the tech industry, specifically for us. But there's other industries that are, as Chuck said earlier, there'll be some other industry briefs, and they're also doing great things in the military community. I think it rolls again with you'll see the growth numbers there, real high growth rates. These numbers are maybe a couple of years old, but the numbers have not changed significantly. Advantages of the tech industry: if you stay current in your technology, you can always, there's always open opportunities. There's a great career path. Some folks want to write software their whole career. They want to be a manager and a program manager, or however you want to manage your career. The tech industry has a path for you and an opportunity for you. And then, as we mentioned in the previous slide, that opportunity to work remotely, that continues to grow in the industry. And depending on what you do, many of our consultants will just live in a region geographically because they're going to customers, and then you go to your customers when you see them. Next slide, please. So what is the tech industry? What are the skill sets? What are the talent needs? So the kind of the foundation, I'll call it, this is the infantry of the tech industry is software development. So all the technology is built on the coding that our software developers end up writing to build whatever application. From me here today on my computer and the video we're looking at, and all this is all built on software. And there's always a need for software developers, and some individuals, as I mentioned earlier, just want to write code and be a software developer their whole career. That's great. Next, please. Network administration. So many of you hear the term the cloud. So the cloud is a data center. It's really not up in the air. It's a building, usually massive buildings that are built around the world, and it's filled with servers. And those servers have technology built onto them, and individuals manage what takes place in that network environment. So these are network server farms, if you want to call it that. It's called a server farm. It's kind of a phrase that's used out there. If anyone's ever seen that show Silicon Valley, an HBO show, they have a couple of scenes in these big data centers, and it's literally just rows and rows of servers that go for hundreds of yards in these massive data centers that are built by the tech industry companies of Microsoft, Facebook, Apple, I mean, on and on, Google. We build these large, massive data centers to house our customers' data and keep it secure and keep it private as well. So next slide, please. So artificial intelligence is sort of the cool technology of today. I mean, there's been some movies in the past that talk about AI and machine learning and what it does for us. When you're on your computer, you're typing in, and then it fills up that word for you, or you're on LinkedIn and it has something that you can just click on to answer. That's kind of AI, and it's in a simple sense. It's anticipating what the next step is by having done this over the artificial, and the machine learning just continues to learn and recognizes what you're doing, and then provides that input back to you. It's a cool area. It's a growing function in the tech industry. Microsoft is very much embedded in AI, and our DoD business, since this is a military audience, we do a lot of work with the DoD and AI and how that can support the warfighter as well. Next slide. So data science, another very important field and growing field. Basically, all the data, and there's, in a data center, you really can't even count how much data sits in these data centers, and what software developers do. They write code that can read and manipulate and provide an output for you on what the data actually means. It can help you make business decisions. It gives you information on how many people, just simple. So how many people click on a particular part of your website, and what does that mean to you as someone who owns that website? If you want individuals to click at a particular location on your website, and you get 1,000 people who click on it, but then only 10 people call you, well, that data means something to the business. And how do you exploit that output that you get from reading data? Next slide, please. Cloud computing. So again, the cloud is really, it's a data center. It's where we house information, and it's really not just storage. So they are all the information and the data is stored in servers, but it's what happens on those servers, what takes place when the data is sitting in the server. So there's all the programs and applications that run on these servers that provide information back to the customer, whoever owns that information. So it's just not a storage facility. It's a facility that's storing and providing applications to that data for the customer. And there's a whole number, there's a large number of applications that will run on a server that provides information about that data back to the customer. Cyber, another cool field, the kind of a lot of this area is obviously very important to the DoD and the military community, protecting our networks, protecting our software, protecting our information. Again, Microsoft as a business is very embedded in cybersecurity. We're a leader in the field. We have a lot of consultants that consult to our customers, consult the government, and provide cyber solutions for our customers and for our partners. There's a number of different areas of cyber. I mean, there's you're protecting software, you're protecting hardware, you're protecting entrance into a network, and it is a war. I mean, literally, you talk about the information warfare, and those from the military understand that terminology. This is the battlefield of the future. Is the cyber battlefield, and it's obviously very important to our Department of Defense and the services. So the money slide, the question on salaries, and this slide will grow as well. So you're seeing entry level salaries on particular skill sets and functionality within the industry, software development, testing, database servers, and then system security, which is cyber. So you see entry level salaries. And again, this data is a couple years old. It's growing a little bit incrementally. And then you see on the right end of that slide, right side of the slide, you see the salaries for the higher level certifications that individuals can attain in that particular functional field. Fairly consistent. These are really kind of broad functional areas within the tech industry. You can get more specific in database or BI administration or server. I mean, there's folks that are experts in one particular type of server or what goes on a server. So you can get very, very specific in the industry with the skill set, or you can be broad as well and be more of a manager of a team that writes software, or as a database management team. So this is sort of gives you some idea of the kind of salaries that are in the industry, and it continues to go up. And then, of course, a geography plays a role. Here in the Puget Sound area, salaries are high. It's a high cost of living. Cities like the Washington, D.C. area, the Silicon Valley, as you know, and the high cost of living areas, the salaries are higher, and then they're lower in where it's a lower cost of living area. But good pay and a great career opportunities for growth and making a good living in the industry. So we can go on to the next slide. So get smart, start early. So a little bit, this presentation, we want to talk a little bit about your transition and how you prepare and what you need to do. And so this is kind of the section that we'll talk about that. So we can move on to the next slide. So degrees in computer science, it's probably the most lucrative degree today, is to get a degree in computer science and learn to be a software developer. Microsoft as a company hires thousands of college graduates a year, and so do our competitors. So it's a very competitive arena in hiring good software developers from college who've just completed their 4-year degree. There's a cycle in the college recruiting world, and it's built on the academic year. So most recruiting takes place in the fall. Interviews take place late fall. Offers will go out early in the calendar year, and then people begin their internships or their full-time employment in the summer when they complete their degree. So as I said, thousands of hires every year from college, and then thousands of internships as well. Microsoft has a paid internships. It's you join a team, you do real work, and you're evaluated. And the hope is to convert interns to full-time hire. We have a very high conversion rate, somewhere around 75 to 80% conversion rate from interns to full-time hire. And you get those offers in the fall. So if you're between your, if you're in your, between junior and senior year, when you do your internship, you go back to school in the fall, those offers come out in the fall. Then you know your start date, or you set a start date for the following summer when you complete your degree. As you can see there again, opportunity, many open positions, and the opportunities will be there for many years to come. It's not going away. Back to the previous slide, just real quick, that has Student Veterans of America that we're partners with as well. It's the largest student veteran organization, around 1,500 chapters across the country. If you decide to go back to school, university or college or community college, there's probably a Student Veterans of America chapter there. So join the chapter, organize with your fellow veterans, and it's a great network to have and support system as well while you go back to school, being 3-4 years older than the typical student. Thanks for going back to the slide. So this is sort of self-study. One thing great about the tech industry is the industry, we share a lot of free stuff and free information, free learning. So I highlighted obviously the Microsoft Learn site there. So you can go to the Microsoft Learn site, and it's like you're taking online courses for college. You take courses that lead to certifications, and then you can take the certification exam and receive that certification. So check out Microsoft Learn. Minecraft, code.org Minecraft, just transparent. Microsoft owns Minecraft as well. And then the Khan Academies, as many of you parents know, schools use the Khan Academies quite a bit for coursework and having students go online to learn. There are many others. I've just highlighted these three. There are many others. Massive online open content is what that MOOC stands for. And but self-study is a great way to prepare yourself. You can go online for free and learn everything you need to learn for a high-level certification. Take the certification, and then you're very competitive in the tech industry for employment. So we'll pass through the video. I don't think we're prepared to do the video. So this is our program at Microsoft that is managed and led by the military affairs team at Microsoft. MSSA, it's the Microsoft Software and Systems Academy. We launched it close to 7 years ago at Joint Base Lewis McChord. There was a fine colonel at that installation at the time by the name of Charles Hodges Jr., who introduced me earlier. And Chuck is you know, we thank him for all the work when he was the installation commander and career skills programs. Joint Base Lewis McChord led the country in implementing career skills programs, which is what our Microsoft Software and Systems Academy. If you're unaware, a career skills program is and it's called SkillBridge as well. And these programs are run typically by organizations or corporations, and it provides training within your last 6 months of active service that leads to employment. So in the last, I would say 10 years, there's been a proliferation of these career skills programs and SkillBridge programs across bases across the world, globally, and it provides a pathway for a service member to sit in a classroom, to be released by their unit, sit in the classroom, take training and education, and then be interviewed and hired by a company or by another partner company of the industry of whoever is providing that training. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, our program, the MSSA program, we partner with a number of other corporations in getting folks hired into the industry. The slide here talks a little bit about what we do. So the way it's not only academic instruction and learning of a particular technology. We have several learning paths. So you could either go in a learning path of software development or cloud and server administration, so managing a data center environment, or we have a cyber path as well. So you learn, like, part of the day you're you're learning from an instructor that technology, whatever the learning path of your particular classroom. And then the other component of the program is we're providing what we call professional development, which prepares you to interview. We work with you on your resume, your LinkedIn profile. We have guest speakers come in, field trips to organizations, tech councils, or to Microsoft offices. And one of the highlights of the program is actually a mentor system, a mentoring program of Microsoft employees who are veterans or non-veterans who will come to the classroom through a video link a couple times a week. And there's group and individual mentoring from these individuals at Microsoft who volunteer their time for all of our classrooms. We're at 15 classrooms currently. So we have a very large mentoring group of individuals doing great work, and they take time out of their busy days to give back to the community where they came from typically. And there's tech mentors and there's mentors that maybe spend more time on the interview phase. So as you see, we have the industry leading IT training, there's job search strategies and support. It's an employment program, and we come down to it, it's about getting you employed and finding that job for you as you leave active duty and find a career in the tech industry. That is the goal of the program, and we support each individual who successfully completes the program until they are hired by one of our partners, or if they get hired, a small percentage may find opportunities on their own. But we have a large network of, at this time, over 600 companies that have uniquely hired from our MSSA program and all over the country. And some of the bigger companies, the brand names that you would recognize if you saw the list. These are all locations, so I won't list or speak out to every one of them, but as you can see, we're all over the United States. I'd say we're a little Army, Marine Corps heavy. The Army was really had led the way in the career skills and skill bridge programs, and the Marine Corps is right there as well, and then the Air Force and Navy. We will continue to expand the program. I think there's a couple of other bases that we're speaking to and hope to be on. Our focus is a service member. So, and also, as Chuck mentioned in the beginning, we launched a spouse program about 2 years ago. We've had 3 cohorts of spouses go through a software development path also. And again, it's about employment, and in the spouse community, many of you know, it's about having a skill set and a career that you can take with you to the next duty station, have a mobile set of skills that you could either work for the same company and work remotely when your spouse has a set of orders elsewhere, or the skill set is so widespread as software development is, it's really much easier to find another opportunity when you take those set of orders to a new duty station. So that's the map. We'll continue to move on and expand. These are just the titles of the roles that we place people into and the positions that they hold in companies. There's many others. These are just sort of the more common titles that you see out there, from software engineering to IT consultant. And often people will study software engineering within their learning path, but they may end up doing something more customer focused. So it's what you learn in the learning path in Microsoft Software and Systems Academy or our spouse program. It doesn't necessarily, is it not where you will land. Some individuals end up being excited about another type of opportunity, but that foundational tech education and training that you receive in MSSA prepares you for that position. A lot of our folks have gone out into customer facing roles and sales, but then also we have people who write code and are sitting on software development teams here at our campus, the Microsoft campus in Redmond also. So how do you connect to the industry? So how do you reach out? This is again about your transition. How do you work a great resume and have a great LinkedIn profile and connect and network to hiring managers and recruiters out there to have that successful transition to a career in the tech industry? And we can move on to the next slide there. So LinkedIn. So again, I'll be transparent. LinkedIn's a Microsoft company, and and they do great work, and we're very excited about what LinkedIn offers and what they do. And I think my dog's getting ready to bark in the background, so I will look back there. But so this is just, veterans have an opportunity for premium service. So go into the LinkedIn and grab that opportunity to have LinkedIn premium for a year. And it offers a number of other kind of some services that you don't receive just with a typical LinkedIn membership. So go to LinkedIn. It's veterans.linkedin.com. There's a lot of great content there, and build a great LinkedIn profile, because it's really your online resume. And most companies, especially in the tech industry, the recruiters are on LinkedIn looking for talent. So it's sort of what we're doing here. So the next slide, please. So why join LinkedIn? So these are just the numbers without having spent a lot of time. These are just the amount of individuals, the numbers that are on LinkedIn, and endorsements and updates. So there's great content on LinkedIn. You can follow companies, you can follow influencers, you can follow others who served in whatever service you're in. If you're an Army, you've served in the Army, find those individuals that share the similar background to you. Reach out to them if they're in a particular corporation you're interested in. Ask for a conversation. Most veterans are very open to having a conversation with a fellow veteran who reaches out to them and says, I understand you work for Microsoft, and I'd be would you spend 30 minutes talking to me about your company and the industry? And it happens all the time, and it's a really great way to learn and prepare yourself for a career in whatever career, tech industry or whatever industry, is do your research, be prepared, and build a network. But then most importantly, don't just build a network of LinkedIn connections. Ask that LinkedIn network to work for you. Ask them for time. Ask them questions. Learn a little bit about the industry you're interested in, and especially learn about a particular company if you have interest in a particular company. Even companies within the same industry, the cultures could be a bit different. Obviously, locations are different. Maybe the focus of that particular tech company may be different. So being prepared and learning as much as you can before that first interview is extremely important. And there's nothing that it's always best to be prepared for an interview and have some great questions and know the industry. We do have a couple questions that's popped up that I see. So is Microsoft doing anything to bolster demographics and diversity? Yes, every day. We very active in that area of diversity and inclusion. We have a senior leader who leads our D&I team. It's very much a focus of Microsoft. If you've read anything about, or you can go into our website or any of our blogs and really see you can go to the Microsoft blog and see our focus there. The tools, I think, are free to use. Yes, Microsoft Learn is all free. Go on to Microsoft Learn and everything's free. Just go and start taking a course. You enroll in the course, and it's just like you're in a classroom at a university. You're taking a course that builds on itself, and then you can prepare yourself for a certificate if it's a certificate course. There are courses you're just learning to write code or whatever the course may be, but there's courses all across the board. And then the program, will MSSA be virtually in the future? You never know. Okay, so I say yes or no on that. That's definitely a possibility. We haven't set up to do anything virtually at this point. Right now, we're delivering it virtually. So our 15 classrooms are currently being presented virtually. So the capabilities there. We hope to go back to the classroom. We think the cohort model and the classroom model provide some advantages to what we deliver. It brings some cohesion, and people work on projects, and the sharing of knowledge and the mentoring and all that takes place in a cohort model in a classroom. We think brings a number of advantages to what we do. We can move on to the next slide. I think get some little more questions here. Can you obtain the slides? Possibly. I have to see how to do that. So post 11G, the post 9/11 GI Bill, yes, you can use that for MSSA. It's actually an approved VA program, and yes, the post 9/11 GI Bill is typically how most people end up the course. You get college credit. So from MSSA, you do receive college credit from our academic partners. Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University is our primary academic partner at most of our locations, and St. Martin's University here in the near Joint Base Lewis McChord is our other academic partner. I apologize for not referring to them in the earlier slides on MSSA, but they're definitely our equal partners in delivering the program. It's their instructors. It's our curriculum and technology, and then we work with our academic partners in delivering that. So move on to the next slide. So LinkedIn. So go to LinkedIn, take courses, take advantage of the content, take advantage of the premium service that you can receive as a veteran, because there's so much great content. They've done a great job of putting together courses and learning, and then just the opportunity to network with others in the industry and being connected. Because once you're connected on LinkedIn, that connection is always there. And you may not know this person personally, but they may share something. I don't recommend just connecting to everybody, but connect to those who have maybe a shared background or in an industry you have interest in, and you can just say, hey, I'd love to connect with you. You're in the industry, and maybe I'll ask you a question at some point in the future. It'd be great to be connected. So be maybe a bit prudent and selective on how you build your network, but having a network's great. But it's just not about having a large number of connections. It's about having those connections work for you, and you work for them. And there's that back and forth of being networked to others on LinkedIn. So next slide, please. So geek out a little bit, get your geek on, as some people like to say. These are just a few examples of media and publications and online content to keep up to date on the tech industry. I like to show the Fast Company covers on the upper left. It says why so-and-so will win. And I just like to say, well, they kind of left out Microsoft. So I won't say anything further than that, but I think it's just kind of funny. I remember when those covers came out, and it was being a Microsoft employee, you're sort of like, well, where are we? And but I'll just leave it at that. So move on to the next slide, please. So about networking and reaching out to there's literally thousands of veteran organizations and nonprofits across the US and globally to support service members. We partner with some. You can see some of them here in the slide: Team Rubicon, Team Red, White, and Blue. Military Mojo is a recruiting event specifically for military service members. Mission Continues, another nonprofit that does great volunteer work locally. Hire Heroes USA helps coach and place individuals as they transition. Recruit Military is another organization of job fairs and events. So these are just an example of some of them that we partner with or have partnered with, and there's many more. Find an organization it's a great fit for you. You could be volunteer with them. You can meet other service members that live where you live and who like to do similar things. You can go out and do runs, or Team Rubicon's in the disaster relief arena. Mission Continues, they select local kind of focus areas that they'll do volunteer work. So a lot of great opportunity to, again, organize, meet fellow veterans where you live, and give back at the same time. And these can be networking opportunities. To me, I always say your path to a career could be your son or daughter's parent that you meet at a PTA meeting, or it could be someone you sit next to on an airplane, or whatever the case may be. There's always that you never know when you speak to somebody what that can lead to. And there's stories that on and on about these interesting connections that have led to great opportunities and someone's career and all those sorts of things. So the elevator pitch, it tells you a little bit here about kind of preparing yourself to interview and staying in touch with people. the elevator pitch is sort of the 30-second. Be prepared to speak about yourself and be confident about your accomplishments and what you've done in the military. Don't make it a mechanical, memorized script. Be natural, be authentic, and just connect with people. So you never know, as I said, when that conversation will lead to something else. So what's the secret to the interview? So there's really no secret sauce to some extent. You can do some research through Glassdoor and other sites about companies, company culture, and what to be prepared for in interviews. Sort of like Yelp, when you go to Yelp and you find a review on a restaurant, or you'll find the outliers of the person that put 1 star because they had a bad experience, and that happens in all companies and all interviews. This may be a good time. I'll talk a little bit about the culture at Microsoft. Microsoft's gone through a very significant, I would say, cultural transformation under our CEO, Satya Nadella. It's become maybe a cool company to work for again, or for a while it was like sort of the old tech industry company that wasn't that exciting. Well, that's no longer the case. And it's a culture of, so empathy is really a term that Satya uses quite a bit. And we're a very giving company. Microsoft match. In fact, so what we've done during the crisis here and during the COVID, Microsoft quickly asked all employees to work from home. And to do that, we've a lot of giving, of organizing, of fundraising and giving through our senior leader team as well. Microsoft has a typical company match annually. If you give to an organization either your time or your money, Microsoft will match it up to a very significant level. Well, they've added for April and May, they've significantly enhance that match. If you give during this period to nonprofit organizations, Microsoft is going to match at a significant level. So really love myself, and I know a lot of the people I work with very much like being in the environment of a company that gives back and does a lot of work outside of its core mission in the community. And this happens across all our offices. So very proud of the giving mentality and environment that Microsoft fosters, and it's really, like I said, our leaders lead the way in doing in this type of work. So the culture, it's a very entrepreneurial culture. I'll just give an example. I have a neighbor who's in research, PhD type of individual, and they came up with an idea for a product that they could take to market, and basically they pitched the product. The leaders see that has potential. They provide funding, and then that team who's doing this project has to come back in 6 months and provide the progress, and then more funding is provided. So it's very entrepreneurial in that sense. Microsoft encourages individuals to bring ideas to what they do, and if they make sense and they can something that we can do as a company, we can pivot on those things very quickly. So casual culture, I love wearing jeans and t-shirts, so great. On our campus of almost 40 plus thousand people, you'll see every manner of dress that you can imagine. It's very much like a college campus. So that the culture in that sense is I like the casual culture and the casual dress, and that's great. So I think we're at the end of the presentation here, so there may be a few more questions. So a question on technical writing. Yes, Microsoft will have opportunities in really every area of the tech industry, and we do obviously have technical writers, and I would say not just for Microsoft, but for any company, regardless if it's a tech industry or not, if you really want to begin to learn the language of the company, go to blogs and go to some media content about the company, but go to the career site and start reading job descriptions, because it'll give you some, there may be terminology, or they title a specific positions a certain way. So you get a feel for the terminology and the language that each particular company uses. Just like in the military, we have our acronyms. We have our way of, every service, I think, calls the head something different. In the tech industry, every company has its acronyms, and then there's particular terminology that's relevant to a particular industry as well. I remember when I first came to Microsoft, I had been on active duty, and we had an OSD, the group at Microsoft, and military, you say the Office of Secretary of Defense. Well, this wasn't the Office of Secretary of Defense; it was an acronym for something at Microsoft. So if you read and prepare and learn about a company, and I said a great exercise is to go to the career site and look at job descriptions, and you'll see, and this terminology will stand out. And it also helps you provide or put together your profile and your resume, and it you can that keyword out, those keyword algorithms that read resumes can help you put together those keywords that are relevant to your background. So Chuck's popped on. Are we doing some more questions here, Chuck, or?
No, just keep going, Joe.
Oh, keep going. Okay. So there's some other, I see a few more other questions here. Many say it hurts if I include my doctoral education. No, not at all. I mean, Microsoft Research is we have research groups across many locations here in Redmond, Boston. It's the New England Research Development. As you know, that acronym is NERD. You can say it out loud. And we have research facilities overseas as well. So we have campuses worldwide, from China, India, some of the larger countries across Europe. Our facilities and campuses are, they're typically within whatever country. It's Microsoft Germany or Microsoft Japan, and we do a lot of work globally. But no, there's a lot of PhDs at Microsoft that do research and are kind of on the cutting edge of the technology that we create and bring to market. So as I mentioned earlier about this entrepreneurial opportunity, the team was led by a PhD in research, and they brought an actual a device to market, and they did it in sort of almost like a Shark Tank manner. They pitched the idea, someone wrote them a big check, said, come back in 6 months and tell us how you're doing. And they came back and they kept going. They finally brought a really cool device to market. And that's really how our research groups operate. Is ideas are come together that's technology or devices that we want to bring to market, and then they keep getting funded as they incrementally grow the product, and the viability of the product actually will continue to keep it funded if the leadership believes it's going to be a viable product in the market. A lot of secrecy around this stuff too. When you speak to some of these PhDs, they don't tell you what they're working on, because it's kind of the market, the industry secrets. So I always say, hey, what are you working on? See if he can if he's keeping to his security clearance level. I can talk a little bit about Microsoft and the DoD. So Microsoft really has been working with the Department of Defense from really the beginning of Microsoft. So we're one of the fairly old tech companies. We've been around quite a while, since 1975. And we've been working with the DoD and supporting the warfighter and bringing technology to the DoD for many years. We have teams from account teams to services teams to consultants that work in specific niche areas of the DoD. And we also have a national security group, it's called, and it works with agencies, the alphabet agencies, and also the intelligence commands of the DoD. So they're working in the cleared space. TS, probably top secrets, probably at the minimum that these teams are working at. And I see there's another question about internships for active duty members. So we actually work directly with Hiring Our Heroes. It has a corporate fellowship program that we're involved with. Somebody just received an offer yesterday from one of our corporate fellows in the DC area, and we don't call them internships; these are fellowships. And then we do host. So one of my responsibilities as companies, we host the active duty training and education with industry active duty service members that spend a year at Microsoft in a fellowship and then go back to active duty. We've been doing that for many years. Internships as a whole, we kind of categorize internships as the summer internship, the college sort of thing. But we have been hosting interns from the service academies over the last 4 years. And then through the corporate fellowship program, as I said, that Hiring Our Heroes, if you're interested in that, go to the Hiring Our Heroes website and find the corporate fellowship program. It's a great program, 12 weeks with companies across the country. Some of the best companies in the US are hosting, and they've done a great job of building this footprint across all of the US to spend 12 weeks learning about how a corporation operates and helping. The goal is employment. The goal is for you to be at a company for 12 weeks. They like you as a potential employee, and they open up a fellowship because there's opportunities in the company. So employment is the goal. So, and there's a very high conversion rate. So explore the Hiring Our Heroes corporate fellowship program wherever you're located, and you can also go elsewhere from where you're located. You can go to a different location and join a company there. I hope that answers the question on the internships. There's some more questions here. In my opinion, programs you'd recommend for a senior officer. Yeah, so senior officer is a little bit, different population. I would say the MSA program is probably not the perfect program for a more senior officer, but we've had senior officers go through the program, so it's not don't do it. You could if you would like. I mean, a senior officer is just in a different category because of the years of experience, probably expecting a little higher level entry, a higher level entry into the industry and a more director level, whatever that. But one thing I'll say for a senior officer is be humble. Don't be wrapped up in the title. Like, don't say, well, I better be a VP or I'm not taking the role, because the tech industry as a whole is a very, very flat organization. There's fewer VPs and directors and senior managers. So it's a kind of flat organization, organizationally. Folks get wrapped up on the role that they're going to have when they go to a company, and they can, the responsibility you have. Let's say a director. So director level in the industry, directors are running often profit and loss. They have large teams. They're experts in their field. So just looked at it maybe as a baseline. Director level within the tech industry is actually significant, very great role to be in to launch a career in the industry. So without kind of bashing the senior officer much, just be humble, go out and find an opportunity that's a fit for you. Often, you want to live in DC or you want to live in Atlanta or whatever the case may be. So start networking in those areas prior to your transition. Reach out to people. I speak to senior officers often about their transition, and I have my opinions on kind of the best way to go about it. But I think in every sense, you should always be humble and be confident. Don't always be confident in your interviews, and be confident about what you've accomplished, and speak to it. Don't shy away from talking about your time as a tank commander or whatever it might be. And there's you've done some incredible work during your time in service, and often when you're speaking to a civilian that really doesn't understand the environment, it's kind of cool to them that you rode around a tank or flew an aircraft, a jet. That's pretty cool to people that don't really understand the environment or haven't been part of it. So speak to what you've done, be confident about it, give some detail, but speak about like who you led, like get some generalities, have some data. Like I led an organization of 2,000 people, for example. So pick out the numbers that resonate and show scope and breadth of what you've done and what you've impacted. Junior enlisted end up getting leadership opportunities. So speak to that fire team leader or whatever leadership opportunities you have. I think many civilians have the perception that the young enlisted are just taking orders all the time, which really isn't the case. There's a lot of initiative and decision making that the military provides for its junior folks. Ooh, Rod, a very good morning. Thank you very much. Sounds like a Marine on the other side there. There's a few Marines everywhere. Yeah, the MSSA program is for military members who are transitioning and for veterans. So you can be a veteran and enter into, we give priority to active duty service members, but we typically always have room for veterans to apply. So if you're interested, so our website's military.microsoft.com, real easy, military.microsoft.com. Go to training, you can click down for MSSA or our spouse program if you're a spouse. I mentioned earlier we do a program for children. It's called a U-Spark. U-Spark is an existing program. Microsoft has been it's been ongoing at Microsoft for several years, but what we did is we just brought it to bases that have schools on the base, and it's primarily for middle school age children, and it's a digital skills day. It's kind of cool. They do some neat stuff. And but yes, for active duty service members, you have to be within that last 6 months of transition by DoD directive to enter into a SkillBridge or CSP program. Go to the site and it'll list all, and from all those locations you saw on the map earlier, it'll give you very specific instructions on who the points of contact are and how to begin the process. You have to get your unit to release you, have to get enrolled in the school, you have to do a couple of other screening, take a quick exam, have a certain level of math. So there's a couple of gates to go through prior to entering MSSA. For those changing careers and degrees and certifications, yeah, if you're making a career change, you want to reskill, certifications are always a great way to break yourself out and make yourself competitive, and it gives you that technical knowledge. And you can take basic kind of foundational certificates. The CompTIA is a real great example of that foundational, the CompTIA Net Plus, Security Plus. Those are foundational certifications, or you can go to like a CISSP or a senior Microsoft certification, Microsoft certified systems expert, or whatever the different certifications that you can acquire. Certifications are a great way to make a career change and then and enter the tech industry. And it gives you some credibility. You have that knowledge of learning a particular skill set, and you have that certificate. So it's something that stays with you. I'm reading the questions, so sorry if I'm a little bit pause here. Someone pointed out that they signed up for MSSA in Jacksonville at our campus. Good on them. Great group there, led by our site manager, Sean Lewis. So we're in Jacksonville, Florida. And also the DoD and the services have approved permissive TDY to attend SkillBridge and CSP program. So if you're not at a base where we're located, you can go through the normal process of getting released by your command, but then also use permissive TDY to go to a location. We actually have quite a few people we've even had people come from overseas, from Japan and Germany that use permissive TDY. I remember one class at JBLM had 4 or 5 people from Fort Wainwright in Fairbanks, Alaska that came down to take the course at Joint Base Lewis McChord here in Washington State. Well, there's no other questions at this point. Well, here we go. Yes, we will be coming to additional bases. We do have a expansion plan to continue to grow MSSA and provide it to as many service members as we can. If we're not on your base, if you're Army, go to your SFL TAP or go to your transition center. Let them know you want MSSA on your base. That's be a good step one. But yes, we are looking at several other bases now and in discussions to expand MSSA and bring it to other locations. But if you're not at base, as I said, you can take it at a different location. It's not really the equivalent of an associate's degree, but those credits that you receive go towards a degree. You can transfer those credits or continue on with St. Martin's University or Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University to complete a degree. At St. Martin's University, it's part of a computer science degree. At Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, it's part of the associates or bachelor's in science and technology management. So I encourage you to continue. You can continue online and receive that degree. Some people do. Or you can go on and maybe wait. Let's say if you go to a corporation, and most corporations offer tuition assistance, and you can pursue your degree at a different time. It's your choice. So there's different ways to continue on, but it's not really an associate's degree. It's 18 or 16 credit hours that will go towards an associate's degree. It's pretty close. Does Microsoft says we're working towards? So sponsorship, there's a question about this Microsoft employee sponsorship of those working towards STEM degrees. If you're at a university or college, our university recruiting team is always visiting and attending events and supporting those in the STEM degrees. I mean, that's, we're a tech company, so we hire primarily individuals with STEM backgrounds, and we do quite a bit of work philanthropically and hand in hand with colleges and universities in supporting their computer science departments, providing devices and consulting. I know there's some very specific relationships that Microsoft has built at particular universities where there's a professor or a department, and we've been working hand in hand with that particular department at a university for a number of years. So when you're at a particular school and you're interested in Microsoft, we do have and I always hate to say go to the website, but our university careers website, if you go to Microsoft Careers, you'll see the link to our student and graduate or university recruiting. So go to that link and start exploring, because you do have to apply for a role as an intern or a full-time employee. You have to go on. And a lot of this is compliance. So Microsoft and all other corporations that follow compliance around recruiting. And so, as I say, as much as I hate to say go to the website, you really need to go to the website and apply and look for. But when you want to follow a company, like go to LinkedIn, go to a search engine and put in the company's name and put in events, put in like Xbox recruiting or office recruiting, and you'll typically find some content, websites about events, about recruiters who attended an event at a college, all different types of ways for you to engage with a company and find out who you want to connect with. So use a search engine. We recommend Bing, and then find what you're looking for about a particular company, because most activity today, especially around events, will get cataloged in search. You'll find it online on the internet. Our programs are, so Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University delivers an 18-week program. It's 2 9-week sessions, so it's their academic calendar. St. Martin's University is broken up into two 8-week programs, so it's 16 weeks. So that's kind of that's the amount of time that the program takes. And during the program, as I said earlier, we begin helping you with your resume and preparing you to interview, and then have you engage with our employer partners, where they will come either through video feed or in person and talk about their opportunities. And then close to the end of the course, you'll begin interviewing. You'll interview at Microsoft. Everybody receives an interview at Microsoft. We hire 20 to 25%, and then our employer partners hire the rest. And so it has all those services associated with the course. It's not just a boot camp learning to code. It provides all that employer or employment support. It's an employment program when you come down to it. We're about getting you a career in the tech industry. And the very, very high percentage of those complete the program end up in a tech career. It's like 85 to 90%. Some people end up doing something else just for whatever reason, and then as their choice. And we work with you if you want to live in a certain part of the country and what your geographic preferences are, and everything we can do to support your employment. I think the questions are starting to dry up a little bit. Another one popped up. Discount pricing on the exams. I don't believe there's discount pricing for veterans on the certification exams. We do have discounts through the Microsoft Store for our devices and software. I'll go back and find out. I don't believe there's veteran discounts for. We did have a program several years ago that ended up sundowning, but we did have a program that was in 5 specific states, and it did offer discounts on certifications in tech. It was a specific program, like I said, that no longer exists. But at this time, I don't believe there's veteran discount for certification exams. So as I mentioned earlier, you can go online at Microsoft Learn and do all the prep and learning for an exam, for a certification, and then you do pay for the exam, which provides a certification. That's really the piece you pay for. Then different pricing depending on the level of exam. We also have many learning partners. If you want to take these courses at night in a particular city, Microsoft has a wide range of learning partners where you can take a course, you're in a class with an instructor, and you're learning a particular technology path that leads to a certificate. And these high-level certificates, believe me, it makes a big difference. If you get a high-level certificate, you're competitive in that field, and it really breaks you out. I mean, often they won't even look at anybody, certain position or role that doesn't have a certificate in that area of technology, because the knowledge, and people are you can be very, very specific. You can be a SharePoint consultant, and that's all you do is SharePoint, and all the aspects of what SharePoint can do for you. You're a cyber consultant, you're a server 2000, whatever the latest iteration of our servers are, and you're an expert in that. So get very, very specific with the certifications, and when you interview and when your resume or your LinkedIn profile, when a search is taking place, there's an algorithm that's going to initially find you, and it's a keyword. It's basically on keywords and phrases within your profile or your resume that will have that profile or resume meet the basic qualifications of that position. If it does not meet the basic qualifications, it will get kicked out as not competitive. And then what it does for recruiter is it brings down a number of resumes or profiles. It brings a manageable number. So 5,000 people apply to a position, the algorithm kicks out a certain amount. But even if it's a very general skill set like operations manager, it could bring thousands of resumes that meet operations managers. So recruiters have ways of bringing that number of folks that they really want to interview and screen down to a manageable number when the recruiting process begins. And there's a couple different ways that the hiring managers involved in this as well. Hiring managers more often than not direct how a recruiter goes about their recruiting process and the screening process. It's all about the relationship between the hiring manager and the recruiter, and how that process takes place. So I'll say, if you're connecting with a recruiter in any company or industry, look to that recruiter as your advocate. If a recruiter presents you to a hiring manager, then they feel that you're a fit and that you may do well in this position. It's sort of a credibility of the recruiter. If a recruiter begins sending a bunch of candidates to a hiring manager that are not great fits or don't meet the criteria, then there's no credibility in the recruiter's skills. So that recruiter is sort of embedded with you in the process. So use that relationship with the recruiter and ask them questions, ask them about the hiring manager, ask them how this hiring manager interviews people, what they look for, or the things I should highlight about my background. Really ask the great questions of the recruiter, and because the recruiter is your advocate, and more than likely, believe me, recruiters are typically overworked, as in the sense that they have a lot of positions to fill. They want to get positions filled so they can move on to others. And not that they're going to go so fast that there's not quality in it, but if they presented you with 2 or 3 other people, they want to fill that role, and ask them and use them as an advocate for you. Don't have a good relationship with your recruiters, bottom line, because they can really do some good things for you. And if you have a good relationship, they're going to really advocate for you as the person the hiring manager should hire. So really take advantage of the potential there with the recruiter. And you can meet recruiters in a number of different ways. Like I said, put in the search engine Bing Xbox recruiters, and they're going to pop up. You're going to see them. They're online. Everybody's online today. If you're good at conducting searches and finding folks, and then reach out on LinkedIn. You're not always going to get an answer, but it's those percentages, right? What percentage of folks are going to respond? And it may be the day they're answering their LinkedIn. Who knows? So I don't see any other questions at this point. So
yeah, Joe. Hey, this is Chuck. Joe, thank you very much. That was, as always, very educational, informative, and for everyone online still right now and watching. Hey, all the things we're presenting today are real people with real jobs. So it's not like, hey, these are going to come back when COVID goes away. These are opportunities that exist for you right now. So I can't encourage you enough to take advantage of all the things that Joe has presented today, because again, it's having a true impact, and there's real people behind these numbers that he was talking about in the entire process. So again, Joe, thank you very much. Hey, for everybody, for the remainder of today, again, if you have friends or family out there, coming back at 1 o'clock this afternoon, we're hearing from Mears Group, another major company that most people have never heard of. It gives you tons and tons and tons of opportunities at 1 o'clock. And then again, this afternoon, we'll have a panel going on in the communications, transportation, and finance industry with Wells Fargo, Transforce, and the Troops and Transportation folks, as well as Charter out there. So great opportunity for you all that will be coming down the line. So I do have a quick question for everybody, or quick afternoon. Have a great lunch, and we'll see you guys here at 1 o'clock. Have a great day.